Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar on how to prepare for the virtual Early Talent and Internship Fair that is happening on Tuesday, May 25th from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern. My name is Felicia Parks, and I'm a career advisor in AU's Central Career Center. My goals for this webinar is to help you prepare for any virtual fair, as well as provide information that will allow you to have the best experience within the Handshake Virtual Fair platform. We will be covering a lot of material today, so I highly encourage you to take notes to not only help you prepare for the fair, but to also ask questions at the end of the webinar. We're going to cover each of these 6 objectives listed here so that again, you're prepared for the upcoming virtual fair. We currently have 70 employers registered, and that number could increase by May 25th. Additional schools such as Georgetown University, George Washington University, and University of Maryland College Park will participate in the fair alongside American University students. So let's start with our first objective. What is the benefit in participating in a virtual fair? Well, we have all experienced a significant change in our lives with mostly virtual interactions for more than a year. So this virtual fair is an opportunity to network and connect with employers for both full-time positions and internships. Participating in the virtual fair is a perfect way to hone those networking skills by chatting with various employers throughout the event. The candidate pipeline is where employers are going to go to first when new opportunities are available. So it's even more critical during these times when in-person events aren't happening on campus. If you want to learn more about networking, be sure to check out my other webinar, Networking in Uncertain Times, Building Professional Relationships Using Virtual Tools, where I'll delve into more about networking and those tools to be successful. Participating in the fair could unearth employment opportunities, but also connect you with people who work there. Oftentimes, you may not know someone who works at the organization you're interested in, so the fair will include representatives, typically from a recruiting, human resources, or hiring manager role. They'll know a great deal about the organization, what it does, what employment opportunities are available, and what they're looking for in candidates. If you're looking to apply for positions, you can learn about the application process. Do you apply via email, a portal? Our second objective, preparing for the fair, focuses on a Handshake profile. The Early Talent and Internship Fair is happening within Handshake, so be sure to register in advance, as well as complete your profile. I'll share screenshots in a minute on how to update your profile, as well as provide additional resources later in the presentation. An important piece of information for you to know is that the fair is not a spontaneous event. It's structured and pre-planned. However, one of the benefits is that you won't have to wait in line to speak with an employer like you would do during an in-person fair. To participate in our fair, you must sign up for either a pre-scheduled one-on-one or group session with employers. Since employers will be able to view your profile within Handshake, it's key that you update it as much as possible. Add your work experiences, organizations, geographic preferences. In addition to listing your skills, will push you closer to your profile being 100% complete. This second screenshot is the bottom half of your profile, letting the employer know your interests, the courses and projects you completed, and all of these are pretty optional for you to include, but it gives the employer a better idea as to how you might be a great candidate for their organization. Once you log into Handshake, click Events, Career Fair, then select Early Talent and Internship Fair, you'll come to a page that looks like this. You can quickly register by just clicking this purple button. This is the second prompt you'll see, requesting that you view available employer sessions. We highly encourage you to sign up for employer sessions in advance. As an FYI, candidates will see all the attending employers, but the algorithms, based on your career interest preferences or previous employers that you've interacted with, will determine the order in which they appear on your screen. Let's dig a little deeper into how you sign up for either pre-scheduled one-on-one or group sessions with employers. You have 2 different options when meeting with employers during the fair. You can attend the sessions you've signed up for with this format, so make sure you sign up in advance. For one-on-one sessions, it's one candidate and one employer representative, and it's 10 minutes in length. Video, audio, and text chat are enabled. And as a candidate, you can share your screen to show employer your resume or other relevant materials. This feature is only available in one-on-one sessions, and employers request that you sign up prior to the start of the fair. For group sessions, these are 30 minutes in length, and it could include more than one employer representative, as well as multiple candidates, for a maximum of 50 people. You can sign up for a group session after they've started, but only if the session isn't full. In group sessions of 15 people or less, video, audio, and text chat are enabled. If your group session has more than 16 people registered, these features are disabled, but text chat is enabled, and candidates can electronically raise their hands when employers can unmute you to hear your question during the session. There could be sessions outside of the Handshake platform. So when you are logging into the group and clicking your session, it could launch you into Zoom, GoToMeeting, or some other platform. If an employer has elected to also send a Handshake link for signing up and it's outside of the Handshake platform, they could email you the external session link. In either setting, make sure you log out of those tools so that once you return to Handshake, both your video and audio capabilities will be available if needed. Once you sign up for employer sessions, be sure to follow the company so that you receive updates. The fact is, employers are actively adding new sessions between now and the day of the fair. So I recommend you check daily to see if new sessions are available. We encourage you to follow employers because by clicking the follow button highlighted here beside the employer's name, you'll receive notifications in Handshake if they add new sessions. If necessary, you can cancel your sign up for a particular session if needed up to 5 minutes before the start of your session. Our third objective is critical in sharing your accomplishments with the employer by uploading your self-branded document, which is your resume. If you need assistance with your resume or having a critique, we encourage you to attend our webinar, Resumes One-on-One, Tuesday, May 18th from 2 to 3 p.m. Eastern. We're also holding 3 virtual resume stations where career advisors will review resumes from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern on Thursday, May the 20th, 12 p.m. to 2 p.m. on Friday, May 21st, 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern on Monday, May 24th. These will be a maximum of 15 minutes, and you can be confirmed for a particular day and time through the You Can Book Me link located within Handshake. Employers have also selected one-on-one sessions can view your resume within Handshake profile, and it's if you make it public. It's also recommended that you have your resume as a backup on a Google Doc, a PDF, or a link that you can easily share with the employer. This is the virtual equivalent of handing your resume to an employer like you would during an in-person fair. So have your link ready to go during your scheduled session. Also consider having different versions of your resume, which could be tailored for specific employers, fields, or industries. Be prepared to introduce yourself and provide responses to typical screening questions. These are usually short accomplishment stories. Also, practice answering questions to typical interviewing or screening questions, and it may be helpful to write them out as you prepare. These answers should not sound rehearsed, but be concise and detailed. We actually have a session on crafting your elevator pitch, which is part of your introduction, on Wednesday, May 19th from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. Our fourth objective is to talk about 3 critical steps in developing your strategic fair game plan. Research employers, learn about who they are, what they do by checking their website, Handshake profile, LinkedIn page, or any other websites that will give you information about the company. You can see all the registered employers for the fair within Handshake, and you can search by their name, or you can use filters including industry, such as government, nonprofit, or private sector, job type, employment type, what they're recruiting for, such as degrees, majors, diversity initiatives. And if they have positions posted, it would be under the jobs tab. Make a list of your must connect with employers. These are employers that you should attempt to sign up with first for sessions before exploring other employers. Planning your approach to communicating with those employers throughout the virtual platform means, again, thinking through those questions. Some of the questions I wanted to share with you could be: I noticed the job and internship posting you had on your organization's website. Can you tell me more about it and what you're seeking in a strong candidate? What does the hiring process look like for that position? What do you like about your organization? How has the organization managed its workforce during COVID-19? Even bringing your attention to, I recently read an article about your last event or news related to the company. What was it like to be part of it? Dress like you were being invited to an in person interview, at least from the waist up, and look like you're serious about your opportunity. Video and audio chat capabilities will be enabled in your one on one sessions. So employers will be able to see you and chat with you. Also, you want to be well groomed, have a neat and tidy room without any distracting background pictures. Your job is to stay in the job search, internship searching mindset. Make sure you are well positioned in a well lit room. I've met with so many students one on one that are backlit, such as a window or sun behind them, or not having enough lighting, so it was too dark to see them. Try to be in an area as quiet as possible, which will also help you focus on participating in the fair. We recommend not sitting on your bed, but instead sit at a desk or a table because, again, it will keep you in the job search internship mindset. With your communication, keep it professional, avoiding slang, emojis, and abbreviations. Speak with and write in full sentences with correct spelling and grammar. Avoid answers that are too short or vague. And also, don't have casual conversations such as what you would have with text snaps or tweets. You could also write these responses out in advance and easily copy and paste them into a chat function. Here are a few ideas of professional attire that is coordinated and wrinkle free. Again, you can decide if you prefer wearing professional attire from head to toe or just only from the waist up. These are critical pieces that applies to the Handshake platform and not necessarily to other software. So think through on your software profile that once you register, it will ask about your settings. Again, these are specific to Handshake and don't apply to other virtual fair platforms. Under privacy setting, you have two options to choose from. You can choose community, which we highly recommend because it allows full participation in the fair in both group and one on one sessions. For the employer, it only allows partial participation to do one on one sessions only. If you select private, it will restrict you from participating in the fair altogether. So for the fair, you want to change your privacy settings to community. And then if after the fair you want to change it back to private or employer only, you can do so. Also, a critical piece is for your Handshake experience is when you're ready to apply for the career fair platforms. When you're registering, again, select your privacy settings by going to your name in the corner, and then you'll see the privacy selection. For the fair, you can change it for community only, and then afterwards, you can change it back to private. This is another screenshot of where you can select it, and it's highlighted also as recommended from the drop down menu. Now that we've covered the privacy setting, let's move on to work authorization. You would need to select your work authorization. And no matter what you choose, you can still participate in the fair. If you haven't done so at the beginning of your profile, you will be prompted to do this upon registration. So when you select this and your answers again will not impact your ability to participate, you can also select that you prefer not to answer. Your grade point average may maximize your eligibility to participate in one on one sessions if the employer has selected the GPA as one of the requirements. Now, AU does not automatically add your GPA to your handshake profile, so you'll need to do that. If you are a first year undergraduate, graduate, transfer student, or alumni, it is recommended that you use your most recent GPA. It could be from high school or undergrad. No one will be checking to verify its accuracy, so an estimate is fine. Again, including your GPA is not a requirement, but we highly encourage you to consider it since this could be one of the criteria within the system that employers use to identify candidates. Prior to the fair, you want to make sure you have access to Handshake. When you try to open it and click and put in your name, you want to also have an opportunity to test your equipment. For this fair, your computer web, mobile device that's iOS or Android tablet are all accessible platforms to participate in the fair. You will need reliable internet connection and a device that will allow you to chat with all the different functions, video, audio, and text. Find out which technology requirements are required for the various web browsers or on your mobile device, tablet, or desktop. Be sure to test the camera, the microphone, and your internet connection. You'll be able to test it with the link that we'll share at the end of the webinar to make sure everything is working properly at least a few days before the event. While you are able to use a mobile device or a tablet, you'd have a much better experience if you use a laptop or desktop if you have access to one. A few limitations. You can only participate in one session at a time. Handshake will not allow you to sign up for multiple sessions during the same time period. And some employers may restrict sign up for one on one sessions based on GPA. Key things to remember on the day of the Early Talent and Internship Fair. You will not receive a link to join the fair. However, you'll be able to gain access by logging into your Handshake account, clicking events, click career fair, and select the Early Talent and Internship Fair. Or you can click on the banner with that Handshake has added to your profile. Please note that these are the only two ways you'll be able to enter the fair. When you're ready to join an employer session, you will see a list of the sessions that you registered for under your sessions tab on the right-hand side of the page. From there, you'll be able to join sessions and start chatting with employers. It's very important that you're on time for your session. Our fifth objective is to understand why dress and professionalism still matters during a virtual fair. As we discussed earlier, the virtual fair has both video and audio capabilities, so make sure that you have access to your camera and your microphone. You'll be prompted to do this when you first enter a session, and if access is not given initially, you would not have the option to turn your mic on or your camera on or off throughout the entire event. However, if you grant access, you will have the ability to turn the mic or the camera off and on while in the session. So again, it's very important for you to make sure you authorize access when you initially are requested to do so. One final note on camera and mic. Because Handshake uses your audio and sound, you cannot have multiple virtual platforms such as Zoom, Microsoft Teams, Skype, FaceTime, or any other session while you're in Handshake. Those platforms utilize your camera and microphone, which could cause issues while trying to use them during the virtual fair. Sending a follow up, a thank you email goes a long way. So be sure to email the employer and thank them for meeting with you. Try connecting with them on LinkedIn for additional networking opportunities. If you had a good experience during your one on one or your group session, then be sure to apply for open jobs and internships. Check your email, your voicemail, and even handshake messages to see if an employer is following up with you. We will also have an option to submit your resumes through a resume drop. This would go to all employers, and this is a good opportunity if you didn't have a chance to meet with your entire list of employers but wanted to show interest. Instructions on how to submit your resume will be under Jobs and Resume Drop within your Handshake profile. Our sixth and final objective is to provide resources to help you prepare for the virtual fair. These links are quite long, so I made them into hyperlinks, which will be shared with all attendees after the webinar. You can access these resources by going to the linked website here and select Students. We have a few more prep events as listed here. And as I mentioned, the resume station, where you sign up for a 15-minute slot, is through You Can Book Me. So these are additional sessions from the online portfolios to resumes one-on-one to even marketing your community engagement experience to employers. There are some interviewing best practice sessions as well as a help booth. This one final resource, a little bit more about the help booth, will be available as career advisors from 1 to 4 p.m. on the day of the fair, Tuesday, May 25th. You'll be able to jump into the Zoom and ask quick fair related questions that are not technical specific. This particular drop-ins are no appointment is necessary, and we're happy to answer questions, although we're not necessarily the technical ones if you're having challenges with your technology. I thank you for joining our session today, and I would love to open up the questions and answers if you comment within your chat section. Thank you so much, and best of luck at the fair. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. Definitely wanted to make sure you all had any of your questions about the fair. If this is your first one, if this is one where you're looking for a specific job, if you had questions about Handshake, you'll definitely get the handouts. That would definitely include it. My colleague is sharing those in the chat, and if necessary, we can also email it to you as well. So if you have any questions, you can feel free to put it in the chat, or you can put it in the Q&A. In the Q&A, you also have the option if you wanted it to be anonymous. So you can include that as well. So I guess by a show of hands, how many of you all have participated in a virtual fair before the one that's coming up on the 25th? Okay. So 2 so far. So with the remaining individuals, are you prepared for the fair? Do you feel as though some of the things that I covered in the presentation would help you feel comfortable in going online? And that'd be great for you to put a question if you aren't comfortable. You may have some things. And we've all been on Zoom now for over a year, so that's not new to you as to making sure you have enough lighting and camera and having a conversation with the employer. But if you haven't participated in a job fair before, that might be new. So by a show of hands, how many people have participated in a job fair overall, whether it was in person or virtual? Okay. So some of the same hands. So there's quite a few new people, and I wanted to make sure, again, if you had any questions, feel free to share them here in the chat. And it might be questions that your fellow students are looking to ask some of the same questions as well. So the job fair, which is called the Early Talent and Internship Job Fair, will include several different positions. And so for this particular fair, you'll have probably 70 employers. I'm hopeful. I said that in the presentation, 70 employers. We have actually 67 that have registered so far, and it's a little bit different. I see that there's one person said, this is my first job fair, so I'm nervous about talking to employers. And that's a great thing to mention as far as your question, because what do I say to the employer? I gave you some sample questions, and my colleague just put those handouts in the chat box. Thank you so much for doing that, where there are some sample questions in that presentation, in that PDF you have there, how to prep. But there are a lot of questions on our website, and I can share that with you as well, where we talk about networking skills. We talk about things you can possibly think of as far as asking questions. We also have a session, and that's listed in the handout, that talks about your elevator pitch. So you can definitely take a look at that. That could be something that might be helpful for you as well. But Think about this when you go to the job fair, whether it's in person or virtual, the whole reason why the employer is chatting with you is because they want to know more about how you could possibly be a new candidate or new hire for them. So they're hopefully not there to scare you. I know that typically some people feel like it's scary, but you're just kind of bragging about your experience. So your document that you have, your resume, which now you'll share virtually, is that you're kind of saying, hey, I have experience, and I'll use myself. I have experience working in both the public relations and journalism field, and I noticed that you had an internship posting for a news writer. And so these are some of the things that I think that I could offer your company, knowing that you put together online stories, you put together print stories. Can I learn more about that position? And in person, you would shake hands. In the virtual fair, you might want to have, and which is great, you could actually have some of your talking points kind of on the side. Like I have a second monitor, which I looked over and looking at my links. You can actually share with them. I can kind of copy and paste some of the things you wanted to say to introduce yourself. So you can write out your elevator pitch, which my colleague just put the link in there for the webinar. And you actually can say, hey, this is what I say about myself. I am a social media, strategist. I am an international affairs specialist, also a writer. So yeah, nervousness is okay because you don't know what's going to happen in those sessions. And I mentioned in the session, if you all recall, there's two ways you can interact with employers. You can go to the group session, so you're not alone. You're in a group session. You could electronically raise your hand like you just did now when I said, could you raise your hand? And an employer could call on you. But I want to challenge you to sign up for some one-on-one sessions, especially if that's an employer that you think you might want to have an internship with. That's going to be very, very important. So if you sign up with the one-on-one, you can ask those questions because it's just you and the employer. So definitely take advantage of that. And so one of the things, I'll actually share my screen with you all. I think I can. Yay. Okay, perfect. So my colleague already shared with you some of these links. Some of the things that might be helpful because you said this is your first job fair and you're nervous, because you might not be thinking about what questions you can ask, you may want to consider participating. Nestle's having a workshop series called Interviewing Best Practices, and they'll give you typical responses. And those responses could be a little bit of everything, as far as like, tell me about yourself, what's your greatest weakness, how would you describe yourself? We also have a tool online called Big Interview, and those have sample questions in there as well. A lot of these times when you're talking to an employer, whether it's a formal interview or it's a job fair, it still feels like an interview. So you're looking at these different questions and you're giving them responses as well. And one of the things that would be really helpful is possibly participating in that. The elevator pitch, which my colleague put in the chat box, that's where you're going to talk about yourself. And your elevator pitch can vary depending on who you're talking to. If the position is a little bit different, maybe you pull on a volunteer experience or a class project or some experience you had in another setting. So that's definitely where you can do that. So that's part of that handout there. We have the resume station, and again, you'll have this handouts in the chat. So I have an anonymous question. If we can't attend the webinar in the next couple of days, where can we find the link to get the recording? That's a great question. I actually pulled that up for you. We have American University's Career Center YouTube page. If you click on the videos, you'll see all the videos that we've done here in the past. So if there's something that we're still working on this week, I'm not sure when it'll be available, but it might be available like the following day. Because basically these are presentations that we've worked on, made sure we added the closed captioning for people who need that. And then my amazing colleague uploads it to YouTube so you can have access to it. Even if they're from the previous fair that we had this past April, I think we had in April. I'm trying to remember. We've had a couple this semester. You can take a look at that presentation. That would be helpful too. So you can definitely do that if you aren't able to attend the webinar. Okay, see if there's another question. Oh, perfect. Put in the YouTube link. I love it. Thank you so much, colleague. I really appreciate that. And so with Handshake, I want to make sure you all understand exactly what's going to be vitally important. I want to bring this to your attention. When you're on your profile, and I'm logged into a former colleague's profile, you actually want to go under, that's where your name is, right? Or your picture. When you go under here, you can go into my profile and you can add information about yourself, just like you would add on LinkedIn or any other profile site. And you see how it's only 15% complete. And I mentioned in the presentation, add more information there about yourself, put in your work experiences, and work doesn't mean that has to be paid, where you volunteered, and then geographically where you want to go and some of the roles. That'll be really important to do that. And also within your, please check this, because it becomes a concern on the day of the job fair when somebody logs in and they can't do it. Go into your settings and your privacy and make sure that you've made it community. Please check community. After the event, you can change it back if you want it to be private. That way the employers that are doing the one-on-one sessions can actually see your profile. And also for networking purposes, the students can connect with you as well. They don't see your email address, your telephone number, your home address, whatever you have listed. Work authorization is completely up to you. But it's very, very important that you go on and make sure that your privacy settings are changed for that. When you go under events, this is how you're going to find the career fair. You're going to click career fair, and then it's all over the place. It's reminding you to schedule sessions. So you go ahead and register. When you schedule your sessions, because this is a sample, you're seeing how the employers are here in different order. If you had a schedule, it would be listed here. So that's going to be really critical for you to do that, because the day of the fair, you'll just click into those sessions. And I had mentioned how some employers will have their session through Handshake. Others, you'll click the link and it'll go into Zoom or GoToMeeting, WebEx, Cisco. I've seen so many, Blue Jeans. So if they use something different, it'll go to that link. Or if it's not within Handshake, they'll send you an email and go, dear Jane Doe, this is the link for your interview. So if you sign up at least a couple days in advance, you can get that email. If you sign up last minute, the employer could miss it. One other important thing to remember is that you actually have a message box within Handshake. So after the fair, check all things that you have as far as emails. Check your email, check your spam and junk folder, check your Handshake messages, because there could be something, a great gem sitting there with an employer saying, hey, I wanted to follow up. So make sure you check those. Okay. And so another thing that would be really important for you, and this is going to be really critical because I know we had some challenges with people trying to look at the screen just this session. Test your browser support and your technical requirements. So that link is in the handout. Just click it. If everything goes green, you're good. If there's some challenges, that's a great time to reach out to the help desk and say, hey, I'm using this laptop, I'm using this tablet, then I'm having challenges. Let them work those out. One of the things that's going to be really important is that if you don't have a desktop, please try using a tablet or something along those lines. If you have an iPad, phones will be very difficult. A lot of the features won't work on that. So if you can borrow someone else's, that would be great, because you want to get the best experience. You want to be able to do audio. You want to be able to, audio will be to chat with them. You also want to make sure you're able to send things through the chat as far as like text. And so you want to check this, but we have lots of things that remind you. Now, you may only sign up for 4 or 5 sessions. It could be one-on-one, it could be group, it could be a mixed, but you came across a couple others, but your schedule's kind of crazy like it is in life. That's the great thing about this resume drop. So every single employer that's in that list that we just saw here will have a resume drop. And within that resume drop, and I can actually, let me go back and click the resume drop. That would be easier. So in that resume drop, you'll be able to submit your resume. So you may not be able to sign up for a time with them. You'll see every single employer. And all you have to do is basically click the word apply, and that's dropping your resume and showing that you are interested, and they can contact you after the fair. So, all right. So I will stop sharing my screen, which for some reason is not turning off. Stop share. There we go. All right. Any additional questions? And if you notice, my colleague also put the link in here for Big Interview. That's the tool that I had mentioned before, where there are pre-recorded questions, answers, samples. You can also access that through your Handshake profile. And so when you're in there, you want to be able to click on those resources. So let me show you that real quick, because a lot of people don't realize all the wonderful gems we have in here. So under Career Center, it's a little slow, sorry. We go into resources. And once you click resources, This is Big Interview. And you've got other great tools in here too about career planning in COVID, alumni fires, like I call it Facebook and LinkedIn had a baby. Alumni are raising their hands so you can kind of practice with them. If you need quad jobs, if you want to work for an employment agency, all these great things are here. But when you go into Big Interview, it's going to give you basically a code to go in there and click the account. Once you go into Big Interview, then you'll be able to select those questions that you think would be helpful for you. So I say I'm not a robot. I thought I had logged into here, but for some reason it logged me out, probably because I logged in too early. So it will give you sample questions. So if you're ready to practice, you can practice on your own. There's also videos in here where there's different questions. So these are not live people, but you can look at the questions. You can actually see them before you hear them. They'll play it. You can record yourself. You can look at your eye contact, listen for your voice inflection. And then if you feel like I need some help, I want to know how to do these things, there are different videos in here that will walk you through how to answer those typical questions. All right. So I think we may have another question. You mentioned that sessions have GPA requirements. Where would I find that information? That is a great question. So when you register for the sessions, if there's a GPA requirement, just like it's a job posting in Handshake, you would see GPA required, or you will see you match all the qualifications. And so one of the things that would be really helpful for you is that if it's in your profile, you want to make sure that it's the most recent copy, or if you kind of remember what it is. I know everyone may not have it from this past May as far as grades, but you should be able to kind of give an estimate because you typically know. But that's definitely a really good question. And I can go back and show my screen again if it's very helpful for you. But if you go into like the different jobs, and that's for any particular event or job, sometimes there's a GPA requirement, not all the time, and I will share the screen with you real quick, not to make you all dizzy. So just like when you look at a regular job description that's on here, if you go a little further down, see how this one has a check mark for GPA because they have the GPA in there, but they don't meet the qualifications because the major is not the same or the school year is not the same and does not require work authorization. This would be an indication that you want to make sure your profile is up to date, which is what I showed you. If you can get to close to 100%, that's great. Sometimes we can't get to 100% because we don't have all the details there for skills, but you'll see that in every single resume drop, and you'll see it in the listing when you go under events and then you go to the fair, you'll see the requirements there. But great question. Thank you for asking that. All right. Well, if there aren't any additional questions, thank you so much for participating today. You can always shoot me a question. My email address is parks, P-A-R-K-S, @american.edu. We have our advisors helping with the resume station. So have someone take a quick look at your resume. We offer 3 different resume stations. The handouts are there. And of course, we have different events. And at the end of those events, we'll have a Q&A. And if you also think it might be beneficial, go in the Handshake, schedule a 30 or 60-minute session with your advisor. You all come from different schools, so we have different advisors set up. Go ahead and log in the Handshake as soon as you finish the session and say, let me schedule an appointment so I can practice my questions, I can have my resume critique, and I feel prepared for the fair. So I'm glad it was helpful. Thank you so much for your questions and your participation. And we also have the help booth. So even the day of, if you feel like you have the jitters, and we enjoy chatting with you, we usually do this in person on the floor of Bender Arena. We have advisors within the Zoom. You can pop into the help booth and go, all right, do you think this is a good question? Do I look professional with my hair, my makeup, or my dress outfit? Do you think my background is appropriate? What do you think about my lighting? We would love to chat with you. So that help booth is the same day as the fair. So the fair is 1 to 4 p.m. Eastern on May 25th, and the help booth is 1 to 4 p.m. Some people pop into the help booth by accident and they think it's the job fair. So just look at the links and pop in with questions. So have an amazing afternoon. You all will do great doing the virtual job and internship fair, and you'll let us know how successful you are. Take care.